What is up, guys? It is Elite Warrior here, and I have been thinking for the past few weeks about Halo in general and how Halo 5 probably isn't going to do well if it doesn't have these specific things in it, and how 343 can save Halo 5 from the Master Chief Collection's failure, because let's face it, the Master Chief Collection was an epic failure, not in sales or numbers, because honestly that's all that really matters to not just 343 but Microsoft, because, you know, money is what runs businesses and blah 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 blah. We can go into that later or some other time because that's not really relevant. But Master Chief Collection was an absolute failure as far as how absolutely broken the game was. Now, people first judge whose name was on the box. And I actually have the case right here. The front cover has 343 Industries, Bungie, and Microsoft Studios. Now, the only reason Bungie is on there because it has Halo 1, 2, and 3 on it, and obviously those games were not made by 343 themselves, only Halo 4, which, of course, people turn and blame 343 for everything, when if you actually go and look at it, 343 was in heavy production of Halo 5, and as of this recording, which is September 21st, 2015, I would imagine they're still in heavy production. Maybe not heavy production, but they're still in production. They're wrapping things up, making sure everything is as smooth as possible, which people say, you know, that's impossible. They're going to fail. Halo 5 is going to fail, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? I think I'm like everybody else, where people aren't really as mad at 343 for something as like the MCC failure or like how bad Halo 4 was, quote unquote, but they don't want to see Halo fall and die, essentially, because that's pretty much what's happening. Halo 5 is not going to do as well as other Halos for obvious reasons. One, the Xbox One is not a desirable platform. I have one. I prefer it because I like Halo. I'm a super Halo fan, and I'm one of those people who I don't want to see Halo fail. Halo is my all-time favorite franchise, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I think us as fans, we're scared. We don't want to see Halo fall. You know, Call of Duty, if you go and look at it right now, I forget what website this is. It's like VGZ Charts or whatever. It tracks all the pre-orders. As of August 2nd, which I think is the last time they updated it, Call of Duty for both PS4 and Xbox One are outselling or have more pre-orders than Halo 5, which isn't shocking because you can get the game on many more platforms. The Xbox One is the only platform you can play Halo 5. So, you know, and I think it's like 350,000, whereas back in 2007, Halo 3 is the most selling Halo game of all time. I think it had 1.7 million pre-orders for entirely different reasons. You know, it was super hyped, the most selling Halo game, like I said, and the games are completely different. You know, it's 8 years later since then, and people blame 343 for changing the gameplay, which, you know, that is a whole story on itself. I personally don't think gameplay needed to be changed. You know, the mechanics, they should innovate more on other things than actual gameplay. That is entirely their decision. You know, they're making the game now, and, you know, people are like, oh, this isn't Halo. Well, Halo 5 is Halo because it's Halo 5. It's what 343 is wanting Halo to be. Whether you agree with it or not, I know that's a terrible argument. You know, oh, it's not Halo, but it is, because it is Halo. It says Halo on the box, so it's Halo. Not entirely what I mean, but, you know, back to the whole concept of, you know, 343 keeps getting shit all over for stuff that, you know, not entirely their fault, you know, especially the Master Chief Collection. You know, that game was outsourced to God knows how many companies while they were in heavy production Halo 5. And, you know, sure, it's their fault because they wanted to be super ambitious with the game and add Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4 in it and ship it, when, honestly, it really should have just been a Halo 2 anniversary. But I get where they're coming from. You know, they tried to give the community something that they could really look forward to and, you know, bring up Halo again. You know, people are like, oh, cool. You know, the classic Halo 2 multiplayer, which is, like, coveted among everyone ever, next to Halo 3. But people want to play that classic Halo 2, Halo 3 multiplayer again. And, you know, it failing at launch isn't quite their fault. You know, the other companies worked on it, used completely different code. They had to go in and try to fix it for months and rewrite the code to fix it. I mean, that's not easy. That is not easy. I mean, I know nothing about that. I'm not an expert in coding. I'm not an expert in any of that stuff. But it just doesn't sound easy. And it's completely idiotic to sit there and say, oh, it's all their fault, They should have fixed it faster. It should have never happened. But you can't work on 2 separate games at one time. It's impossible. So, I honestly think that Halo 5 can succeed if 343 does like one very specific thing. And this is extremely important. Any game survives. Now, this is almost a fact. I mean, you could pretty much say this about any game. A game is successful, one, by its sales. But Halo is a long-established franchise. Since 2001, obviously Halo 1 came out in 2001, it's been 14 years. Halo has grown a huge community. However, you have to have the features to back up that community today. Back then, you added features throughout, the progress of the franchise itself. The problem is, Halo 4 specifically did not have the features that people were looking for, and of course you can turn to the multiplayer itself, absolutely lacking in what people thought that it should have been. And I completely agree. The campaign for Halo 4, I thought was superb. A lot better than Halo 3's Oh god. Halo 3, I think Bungie started taking a decline really in 3. Not the multiplayer. Their multiplayer was always exceptional. Until Reach, it got a little unbalanced, but again, that's another story for another time. Halo 4, multiplayer, very unbalanced, but really Halo 4, really, the only thing that was really missing, in my opinion, to make it less crazy and chaotic was, instead of having the armor abilities attached and have loadouts, you could have just had, like power weapons, but could have had the armor abilities as a power weapon, pick them up and die, and have to go pick them up again. Should have had respawn times on them, blah, 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 blah. Should have been something like that. That would have been much better. And descoping. They took out descoping in Halo 4, which I think completely ruined the game. Having descoping is the unique thing in Halo that makes it. I'm glad it's in Halo 5. Makes it that makes such a huge difference. People don't know how much of a difference that makes, but it is an absolute treasure of a feature to have that's so small and so seemingly insignificant, but it really is. But the community, back to what I was saying, the community itself grows the game. You can look at Halo 3 as a huge example. Now, it had a huge following, which is why it had 1.7 million pre-orders, for obvious reasons. The thing is, Forge was added to that game. Bungie thought it would be cool to go in and just, tinker with maps. Set spawn points, put weapons here and there, add some fusion coils, blah, blah, blah. Very basic things. They put the first map pack out, which is Heroic Map Pack. They put a map called Foundry. I'm pretty sure most of you probably know that map. Completely forgeable space. You could delete every single thing that's on the map, make your own map. People went 10,000 times above and beyond that and created crazy contraptions in that small room. So then Bungie responded to this and created Sandbox. And the amount of content the community created from Forge in Halo 3, and then you go to Halo Reach, and it was completely, significantly better as far as the features went, but, just the crazy stuff people did in Forge was unimaginable at the time, and it was just, crazy, amazing. The most fun I ever had in any Halo custom games, anything so far, next to Reach, of course, was 3. There were so many custom games people had. That was every night you would get on it and play custom games. Like Fat Kid, Ice Cream Truck, Jenga, you name it, I probably played it. That was the thing back in the day. Now, Halo 5 has to do the same thing. They have to have the features to back up the community that is already there. They don't need to build a community. The community is still here. They need to add the features. They need to have the features to support the community, such as a functioning file browser, which the Master Chief Collection does not, and that creates havoc for people being very doubtful of Halo 5, and I completely agree. It seems like they take a good leap forward and they take 2 steps back every time, and it's like, it seems like they get the idea, but then they don't get the idea, and the thing is about 343 is they really love Halo, and they really want to make the best game possible, but it seems like they're too ambitious for their own self. The Master Chief Collection is a good example. They want to put all 4 Halo games in. Too much work. Had to be outsourced. A failure at launch. Halo 5, they want to have a crispy 60 frames per second. Great. No split screen. Haven't said anything about Forge as of this recording. That's not very concerning though. It seems like Forge is going to be crazy awesome. And again, I hope it has a functioning file browser like in Halo Reach, which was also like right next to my all-time favorite custom games Halo ever. 4 was, I played probably less than 100 custom games ever, because the Forge just wasn't all that great and just really wasn't all that fun to use. I hope Halo 5 has like a super gigantic Forge world, etc., etc. Stuff that the previous Halo games clearly have implemented and shown that it works. And that's what 343 needs to learn. They keep trying to add new things, and it's just not quite working as well. They should just use the old stuff, especially the community features, for God's sake, not implementing, multiplayer, the campaign, blah, blah, blah. You can do whatever you want with that. But the features that worked in the past, they should also be in the new games. That seems like, or at least if you're going to add new stuff, keep the old stuff, not completely remove it and just put your own thing in there and call it whatever. That just makes no sense to me. But honestly, a functioning file browser is the big thing. If it does not have a file browser, or at least a functioning one at launch, I think people are going to completely just absolutely bail on the game, which would be sad. The one thing Halo 5, I think, has a super advantage over Halo 4 is that they seemingly are going to have a lot of post-launch support, which is something they also need to do. And it seems like they're going to do. In some sort of capacity, they're going to add all the DLCs free, at the expense of microtransactions, which really don't matter because it's only for Warzone, but blah, 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 blah. People complain. And that's also the thing, the community itself, including myself, I have a lot of gripe about Halo 5, but I think there's a lot more positive in the game than negative, and I think a lot of people miss that, and they focus on the bad things. And yeah, not having split screen is huge. Not specifically for myself. Me and my brother usually play it every new Halo game that comes out, every major Halo game. I should say with the Master Chiefs at 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5. We didn't really play Reach, we didn't really play ODST together, but we usually play it on Legendary. Now we can't do that. It doesn't really affect us. Me and him are old enough to know it's not that big a deal. We're not going to be super crazy, pissed off about it and just not get the game. I love Halo too much to skip out, and the campaign, from what I've seen so far, looks absolutely amazing. And I think, in hindsight, it just seems really crazy to not want to play the game yourself and experience it, especially just because split screen's on there, and I get it. Split screen is a huge feature, and I hope, Halo 6, whenever that comes out, I guess 2018, that would make the most sense, 3-year cycle for those big games, it has to have split screen. Split screen is still relevant, but you're seeing a trend now in games like Destiny, Titanfall, Halo 5, those are just 3 examples I can think of just instantly off the top of my head. They don't have split screen, and people are still mad about that stuff. And it's like, I think that's moving away. Stuff is going to be online only. Halo 5's going to have dedicated servers for everything, so in 10 years when Xbox One servers are off, you can't play Halo 5 ever again. People are mad about that. And people are it just seems like 343 has to learn from the old Halos. They have to. It seems like they're looking at it in a different mindset, and I like 343, what they're doing with Halo 5, but the stuff that we haven't been shown yet is what's concerning. Is Forge going to be all that great? Maybe are they still working on it? What's going on with that? And, it's not like I said, it's not very concerning, but it's like, it's almost here. It's, again, September 21st. It's almost an exact month away from when the game releases. When are we going to get our hands on a video or something that tells us about Forge? Who knows? But, the way Halo 5 can be saved is 343 has to have those features that I was talking about. Functioning file browser. They have to give a way that for the community seemingly easy to connect with each other again, and just make an all-around great. They did improve upon that. In custom games you can toggle off all the abilities. You don't have to clamber, you don't have to sprint, blah 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 blah, and so you can create classic Halo Forge maps again and use no abilities, no nothing that you want, which is great. A lot of people I think are going to utilize that, and that's a good step in the right direction. The beta itself was a fantastic idea, and now they're going to continually have betas for the rest of the Halo games. Bonnie Ross even said, they're going to have betas for every Halo game ever, so a Halo Wars 2 beta will come out at some point. But, in this, as a 15-minute commentary, I'm rambling on now. I went on a lot of tangents, and I completely apologize. This is like my first time ever doing a commentary, and anyone who's listened this far, I truly, truly appreciate it. But honestly, as a Halo fan, and most of you are who are going to listen to this, hopefully, will really realize that 343 is trying their hardest, but they have to have the features in the game. The game can be a 10 out of 10, but it'll be a 6 out of 10 if the community doesn't think it's great. And, the community themselves are really split right now. There's a lot of things in Halo 5 that are controversial, I think, that people don't want in the game. Sprint, clamber, sliding, ground pound, Spartan charge, all those abilities that you have, which honestly, that stuff doesn't really affect me. The big thing is I don't really think you need ground pound. I like the thrusters. The thrusters add that extra little kick to the multiplayer, but it doesn't really change it. Ground pound, I think, is completely useless. And especially in multiplayer. I mean, people who have half a brain can realize that ground pound's not going to be that useful or really use it. I used it maybe 10 times in the beta. I think it's useless. The Spartan charge is pretty cool, but it just seems like they're not innovating on new ideas. They're kind of taking from other FPSs, which people don't want. That's not what they want, which really started with Halo Reach, with the armor abilities. And I think, this can be completely disputed and people could tell me I'm stupid and wrong, but I think Halo Reach was Bungie's Destiny pre-alpha. I think that was a testing ground for Destiny. Now, whether you agree with that or not, I truly believe that in all my heart, that they did that. Now, not that Halo Reach was a terrible game. Again, I thought Halo Reach was fantastic, but the armor abilities are very similar to some stuff in Destiny. And you can see it. And even just the way some of the stuff works in Halo Reach, it kind of is along the lines of Destiny. And it's kind of sad because it's like Halo Reach itself was a great game, but it's like the community did not respond to that stuff that well. And 343 did not seem to get that, and they made Halo 4 and went even, and they doubled down on that armor ability stuff, and people were just like, why? They were looking for a Halo 4 like Halo 3, style multiplayer, and or, the whole concept behind it, and it just didn't work. And, it's, I think they have a lot of pressure. I think it's hard to come in after a successful 4 games, 1, 2, 3, and Reach. They had OASD, they didn't make Wars. Bungie left Microsoft, blah, blah, blah. They come in, have to make Halo 4, and then, they've been working on it for a while. I think that, that's hard. They have to, respond to what they think the community wants, but they want to make the game as good as they can and unique, and I think they did that, but they did some things wrong, and they learned from it in Halo 5's development. They brought back the classic, you have to pick up all the weapons, you have, fair starts, blah, blah, blah. They have their own little twist to it, even though it's kind of copying some other stuff, but, they have to make the game, I think they have a lot of pressure to make the game more appealing to non-Halo players, because, a lot of the community has just jumped ship, and they don't want to play it anymore. They think it's lame. They don't want to do anything with it. So, they added the aiming down sight, quote-unquote, which is Smart Scope. It doesn't affect the game in any solitary way. It's the same scope it is as before. Your movement speed isn't changed. Nothing is changed as far as a normal scope in from any other Halo game. Blah, blah, blah. They added Sprint. They made it look like another FPS. It's still Halo, but I don't know, it's losing its appeal to classic Halo fans such as myself, and I think a lot of people can agree to that. It's like, ew, I don't want all this stuff. I want, and I don't want a Halo 3.5, Halo 2.5. I just want Halo to be its own thing. I don't want it to have to copy other games to stay relevant, and I feel like that's what it's doing, but trying to mask it as new stuff. And which is, I think, is stupid. Like, you should just go all in for it, if you think this is the way to go. And, the way the developers are dancing around community questions, especially on Twitter, it's very concerning. It's like they don't, it doesn't seem like they care about what the community thinks, even though they took a lot of the community feedback and continually do so. But all in all, I think 343 can learn from the Master Chief Collection mistake, what features they left out. God forbid they have to be in Halo 5. I think Halo 5 is their last straw. I think they have to deliver on Halo 5 in every corner aspect, everything of the game. Or I think Halo is going to pretty much die. I think the super hardcore fan base is going to keep buying it and play it, but the people who aren't really sure or really scared of, like, is Halo still Halo again? You know, a lot of people look at it on the outside and don't really look into the information, the research, and they're like, ew, I don't want to play that game, it looks too much like other FPSs, and just drop out of even entertaining the idea of trying to get it, which I completely understand. You know, it doesn't look like Halo, but I think people should give it a shot if you're looking to, if you're wavering. You know, I think the campaign might be the best yet. You know, this is all speculation at this point. The multiplayer, I think they're going really deep and in depth in the multiplayer, not customization. We can talk about that again. That goes back to the stepping on their own, they're stepping on their dicks, so to speak. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like they do good things, but then they just seem to just misstep somewhere along the line. It's like, oh, multiplayer's robust, this and that. Then they don't have a lot of customization. It's like, why not? We don't know. But they have to learn from Master Chief Collection. They have to do the things that keep the community the way it is. They have to have the community features. The game will not succeed without the community itself, but the features to back it up. And if they don't have it, it's not going to be successful. If they do, I think it will be successful. I hope it is successful. I'm a huge Halo fan, but they have to do the right things, and so far they've been kind of teetering and tottering on what they should do, what they are doing right, what they're not doing right. And hopefully the features they have not talked about yet, because there's a few, such as Forge is a big one. Forge is in the dark more than I've ever seen a feature ever in any game. It's almost a month from launch, and it's like, where's Forge? I hope Forge and the file browser and everything is in the game, and it's perfect, and it's great, and I hope Halo 5 returns Halo, not to the FPS throne, but to glory, to the spotlight, to the people on the outside looking in going, ooh, Halo 5 looks great, I want to play that game. People saying good things about it. And that's what I hope. I hope a huge community stays on the game for a long time after launch, months and months and months, not a few weeks, not a month or two, but 5-6 months. Next June when all the DLC is supposed to drop, I hope the community, hope it lasts, hope it has its legs and it stays up and it runs all the way to the finish line. It does not get tripped up short. I hope it makes it, and I hope everyone else does too, because it looks like it's going to be a great game. So, hope you guys like this commentary. If you like it, give me a like, give me a comment, tell me what you think Halo 5 can do to succeed, and what you did not like that 343 has done during the development of Halo 5. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Like I said, thank you for watching. I will try to keep these as short as possible, and I will try to discuss more stuff on Halo 5 in the future. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.